I am masculine, but I can be also masculine, like without being angry, without being too intense. How to learn toughness? I learned toughness by falling. That is something like that I don't want to bring to my child. I want to be open to him and to be able to talk to him and say, hey, you can ask me a lot of questions, anything. We can sit down and talk.
How are you doing, bro? How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah,
Feel good. Yeah.
yeah,
Happy to be here to sit down,
yeah.
facing you.
As we were going through that little moment of meditation,
Yeah.
is there anything, any picture that you had in your head that you want to share with us?
As a moment of joy, the thing which came quick to my mind was memories. Might just sound very banal, but yeah, Christmas when I was a child, next to where next to Paris, where I used to grow up until I was like two from 4 to 11, and I remember the feast that we had, and it was nice. It was fun, and this is something we actually kept it as a family with my parents and my brothers, and yeah, and I have good memories, and that's actually something I would like to also bring onto tail because my son and these memories, I think is yeah, it feels like a lot of joy to me. This is the first thing which came to my mind.
Nice,
So
nice,
yeah.
nice. Christmas time with the family.
Yeah, I know it sounds a bit like cliche, a bit classic, but
Oh,
that's something that it's even for me, it's a strong meaning Christmas. I'm not sure
yeah,
sometimes, but yeah, as moment of joy, like as seeing my father just having a good time and just like
yes,
us also as a family, you know.
yeah.
I think it was like yeah,
Amazing,
it was
amazing. Thank you,
fun.
thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Um, I would like to start by asking you who you are actually. Beside the work
Uh-huh.
that you do, right?
Yeah.
We will touch a little bit on
Okay.
some of the things that you love to do because
Yeah.
we in our casual conversations, there are things that you already shared with me.
Yeah.
We can talk about it. But what are your values? Who are you as a person? Who are you as a father? Who are you, right?
I'm a
On this journey of life that you,
yeah.
yeah.
I think yeah, I'm a passionate human being who like to yeah, I want to say I like to live the fullest in my own way, kind of thing. And yeah, I think I'm a passionate human being who can be a little bit intense at times. But I guess this is part of self development and can be funny because fun is part of life. I think it's yeah, it's important. It's a good attribute, be funny. And yeah, outside of work and beyond, yeah, it's hard to tell, but I I heard that I can have some charisma, even if myself is kind of hard to see it actually. And it's only maybe by meeting the right people who talk with you and exchange with you, who can feel you and say, "Hey, this is what you are," you know. I'm reflective, you know, and because there's some value behind all this. I think to go back to what we say, who we are, try to look back in, and always putting respect at the forefront because it's the base for me. I think to live among people and to do stuff even for ourselves, you know, which is hard for some people actually to respect themselves to start with. So I think yeah, that's why I am. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. There are two things that you say that are very interesting for me right now. One is you said you're someone that can be very intense. I would like to go a little bit back to that. What does it mean for you? And what does it mean for you to be
Pardon.
intense?
Uh, it's yeah. I mean, it depends how people look at it or how we define it. Um, I guess I have my how to phrase this. Yeah, I think some reactions to my reaction at times. Uh, it's it's the way I manifest thing. I think it's the way which is expressed. The meaning is good, but somehow, yeah, it's yeah, this intensity can take a little bit of space, I think, and within myself, and this is where I can kind of like close in, you know, and yeah, I find this a little bit difficult at times for me to handle it, but I'm working on it, and I think like yeah, this is getting a little bit better, you know, and of course, when you're a bit intense, it's kind of you relieve yourself, you reveal yourself amongst the others, and so the others will feel like, okay, what's going on with this person? And I think it can be it's good to it's good to actually say like to show that you are, you know, and just to be accepted amongst the others, that there's nothing wrong with sometimes being a bit intense, and it's part of us. And so I had to, yeah, I had to accept it and say, okay, well, there's things that I can change, but somehow it's part of me, and that's okay. And just able to control it, to give it direction, to use it maybe in a direction, positive
Yes,
direction for me,
yes,
you know.
yes, yes.
So yeah,
I feel you. I feel you. The reason why that is really resonating with me right now, it's because I used to say that I can channel my frustrations in the things that I'm doing,
yeah,
right? And intensity in terms of emotions. I never really look at those things like being right or wrong, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Especially because they make you who you are. They are also like guarding you from, from stuff that can
Yes.
happen to you.
Uh-huh.
And that kind of intensity, channeling the intensity itself is what is key in
Yeah,
what you're saying,
yeah,
which is very interesting because that's the second part of what I wanted to ask you, because you used the word being I can be intense, but you also said not even but, and you said you are someone that is also reflective, right?
yeah,
And that those things are working together,
yeah,
right, to make you the person that you are, and which is the reason why we're here today,
yeah.
right? You're very new to the community, to the Black Death Germany
That's very true.
community, but the reason why I wanted you to be part of the first guest is because we do have this project that is called the Healing Circle, right? It's called the
Uh-huh.
Black Death Brunch, but actually it's a healing circle where we talk about, deconstructing masculinity. We
Uh-huh.
talk about mental health. You're vulnerable, right?
Yeah,
And I remember when you first came, the first thing that you said, which is, unlearning toughness, right?
yeah,
And unlearning being masculine, whatever it means sometimes, right?
yeah.
And the first thing that you said was like, actually, this is not something that I
I
used to
do
do.
really. Yeah.
And but then you also revealed yourself that day. You were completely naked in your experience, not
Yeah.
completely, but at least part of your journey. And that was so interesting. So one of the first questions that I really have to you is, when we talk about masculinity, right? How are you unlearning toughness in in this world today, which
Uh,
is a world that is very masculine sometimes?
I think how to learn toughness. I learned toughness by falling.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because along my journey, I think I had to fall on my nose a little bit to have long talk with somebody that I know well, and share of my life with, and that was a bit of an eye opener as well, you know. And yeah, strong learning curve. Yeah, toughness has not been can be towards the other, but can be toward the oneself,
Mhm.
and that's that's a little bit what was for me hard to push away. Is
Mhm.
this side of myself that's kind of like tense a bit,
Mhm.
and but it's a shell, a tough shell, and yeah, I had to, when I rethink of it, I just understand why. And I so say reflective, I understand why I'm so being like this and why I can also do in order to change these patterns,
Mm,
because what is masculinity to start with? I mean, we live in a world today with a lot of definition and a lot of topics, and yeah, uh, masculinity is not just being tough or showing that you're being there, taking a lot of space. I think
mm,
I have to say like getting it towards empathy,
mm,
and yeah, just to be there, to be present, not be able to make waves and being all over the place and being respectful to the others. And this is why, yeah, I mean, reflecting to myself, this is how I actually broke a bit of toughness
mm,
because it helped me to dive in a bit more and say, hey, making like adjustment on what feels right, what feels wrong, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, extensive talk with the mom of my son Theo,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, we know each other for a long time, so yeah, it was good to talk also with somebody who was involved in this like masculinity, who talks about it.
Yes, yeah.
So that was challenging. That was challenging, but of the long run, it felt like,
Yeah.
yeah, it felt like I really, yeah, I could learn something different.
Mm,
That's, for example, what my brothers know,
mm, mm,
because we grew up differently since
mm,
I left France,
mm,
where I was born. And so this is how I managed maybe to understand it better and how to get out of this like
mm,
masculine picture and
mhm.
how to, you know.
Mm.
So
So, um, I hear a lot of things in what you're saying, and it's pretty much interesting because you're also talking about the mom, the mother of your son,
yeah,
and the relationship that you also have with your son, and I kind of, as you were talking, and I was thinking, okay, what would be that moment where, for example, a good example, I need like from you a good example of when you thought that masculinity or being tough, for example, for you as a father is really not working. Because you also
yeah,
said like you have to fall on your nose, right? Like you
yeah,
really have to
yeah.
go down
It's
and then before you stand up and go like, this is not working.
y-
Is do you have like a good example
yeah,
of
yeah, no, completely. I mean, for example, it's like I used to I used to actually not anymore. I used to have I could get angry sometimes,
Mhm.
and we used to live in London, and we had our own space, which was cool, a little flat in Walthamstow, and then we made up cute, and during the process of making this flat, obviously, you're moving somewhere with somebody, and you just like you want to make the space nice, and kind of like
Mm,
take space, want to take decision, and and realize that yeah, Theo's mother was just like, but no, you
mm,
know, showing that she's being there and like opinion matters, and through like even not just like when we were redoing the flat, but as we were living together, and as she's an activist, I had to. It was interesting. I was kind of put back in my shoes a little bit, and to give me it wasn't a put back in my shoes like I'm gonna teach you a lesson and so whatever. It's like let me explain you something, and then you take it,
yeah,
and then you review it and you see how that feels. Just think about it. So that was, yeah, that was the way when I realized like through this arguments or like this is I am masculine, but I can be also masculine like without being angry,
mhm,
without being too intense, and it does happen maybe sometimes like but very softly and always going back to this reflection and say, hey,
mhm,
get back to it, it's okay, You can't just put yourself in that state. Is that what you really want to be? Is that what a man is supposed to be? To play it tough, to play it like, and take space, being loud. So, yeah.
Why? What would you say? Why? Why? Because you're going back to that again and again, right? You're talking about not only the respect, the self-reflection, but you're also talking about, um, the fact that as a man, you sometimes you in the past you tend to take so much space,
Mhm.
right? And I'm tend to ask you this question, which is it something that is tied to your upbringing, to what you've seen at home? As a
Maybe.
something that is, how was your father, for example? What was that relationship that you have with the father? Because defining fatherhood is not so simple sometimes, right?
Uh-huh.
There's so many different components and too many things that happen sometimes. So, where did you? What would you say was your first experience of masculinity actually? Being toxic in a way where it became something that would take so much space.
Yeah, I've seen it from my dad, definitely. And I mean, it's was born in the 50s after war. It's a generation of men born after the war or during the war somehow. It's they grow as they lived, you know? And and yeah, I think I do have it. We are even with boys within the community, the black community. Somehow, it's a picture which is given. Maybe I'm not sure. There's some toughness to kind of to be learned. You become to be maybe like a bit more aware, you know, and but not just that. I think it's something which is also passed on that my dad unconsciously just simply passed on back because of his upbringing. It's from Martinique. His dad was a fisherman. Man was supposed to be on a boat and captain of a, of a boat, and it turned to be like an IT engineer somehow in France, and yeah, I think it's the way he grew up, his upbringing led him to be actually to build this shell, with all the masculine trait you can give it sometime, like, and and seeing some of his reaction, I know it's like, for example, it's not somebody who will speak a lot, he will not really talk much for himself, and I wish he could open up and talk more by himself, that we could share stories to him to then there's less of this toughness, this man is not tense inside, but it is, but you don't see,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
So that was yeah, if I can remember like the way I grew up is there's that the toughness with my dad, that to see him through and say, okay, I understand, you know. But then there's another person. I have a twin brother, and we are the same egg. And maybe back then, for me, two eggs, one belly. Where's my space? As I was just swimming in the womb, where did I have to be? Will I come first? Will I come second? And no one knows. I don't know. It's for me. It's like, yeah, my twin brother that I love, Marvin. Big up, Marvin. Is a great guy. I love my twin brothers very much, and we speak often. And but I think there's this thing of like when it comes to tech space, it comes just at the very beginning when yeah, I had to, as you grow up with somebody who is very similar to you, just even physically, which is the same parent, the same upbringing, and you do stuff together. He's my best friend. He's my bro, and but at some point it comes the conflict of, you got to take space, you got to be assertive and just stand, and it's and he always been more than me, to me it feels like. And that is, yeah, maybe when I have to think about the term taking space as a person, I reflected, yes, to my dad as he grew up, and this is how he grew because this is what was given to him somehow. But I also think in me as a person, very personal, my life from the very start, that I can't remember swimming in home, of course, still the presence of being with somebody, I had to find my
You
place.
have to find your place.
Yes.
It's as you were talking, I had a lot of things going on me as you were talking. That was very interesting because I could feel the emotions of what you were saying, right?
Hmm.
And I love the part where you're talking about your father and saying how you understand that okay, for him it was a different time, and it was really a different
Yeah,
time. And
yeah.
this is why sometimes I tend, when I have casual conversation with friends and some other people, I'm like, it's, I we cannot just say that these things are cultural and some stuff like that. It's pretty much a easy route to just say, yeah, that can be just, it's a culture. No, it's not cultural. It's the society. And that society is also based on the history of what
Yes,
happened to the people.
absolutely.
And that's something that you have to take into consideration. And that generation of our fathers, your father, is a generation that didn't have the kind of resources that we have in today. And this is why you're also talking about your brother, because what I could hear when you were talking was, I understand that for my father, it's a different generation. It was a little bit difficult. But for my brother, I think I love him, but I want to see that there's something that is happening that is that he can do better than what he's doing right now. But we're not here to give your brothers lessons, right? But what is interesting, however, what is really interesting in what you're saying is what I've heard was how difficult it is to unlearn to be tough. And that is really really something that is not just, you don't wake up in the morning and go like, I don't want to
Decide
be
to build.
tough
Yeah,
anymore,
yeah.
right? So it has a lot to do with the environment, because in
Absolutely.
your environment it was so important that the mother of your child was an activist, challenge you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and then I'm kind of asking myself right now, which is a question that I want to ask yourself, I want to ask you, um how difficult was it for you to unlearn to be tough?
I think it was difficult, like emotionally, but I think I had the right people around me
Mhm.
and women.
Mm.
Yeah, the mother of my son played a strong role. But then when I was in London specifically, as we didn't really have a family, I have no family like name blood in London, but I got a fam. And we are very international, and I think there's some very nice people, but also wise people, and everybody got his own trait and everything. And I think that helped me a lot
Mm,
to discuss with them, you know.
mm.
And this is when yeah, this is how I managed to discuss, to open up, I think, and that helped me to, yeah,
How
it's
does it feel? How does it feel when you like, you just say it, right? Like it's so great to open up, as you going into those relationship with not just the mother of your child, but also with your own child, right? Um, how does it feel to you to just open up like that? How do you feel after that?
I
Is there
feel just way more free. I feel like something dropped, and I feel like I can actually relate more to my experience and be able to share them in a way better way, in a better way,
yeah?
and not to be actually scared or ashamed of what's happening and or what happened. And it's good, I think, to discuss it.
Actually, what I hear and what you're saying, right, is most of the time we think that it's a shield, right? First of all, like wanting to be so tough is a shield, right? It's a shield. And that shield is based on things like, some of the insecurities that we have. If there is one person in this world that can tell me that he's not insecure about something, then please stand up and raise your hands, right? So those insecurities, they're there, and they are there because of, life is a journey, and it's all right. It's all right, right? As long as we can face them, and as long as we can look at those insecurities and work on that. So now there's something that you're saying, which is a gift that you're giving to yourself, right? Because being vulnerable is really like an act of kindness, right? And that act of kindness is not towards someone else, it's first of all towards you. The relief that you feel is really just so beautiful, because this is what you're saying. I feel free. Or would you and that words, when you used it, I was like, wow. And then you also said, yeah, because of the environment, right? That's important. The environment. So would you say that for more men to be open today, it's very much important to have those moments of self-reflection, which is great, but also the entourage, the people that you have around you, have to support that new system that you're putting in your body. Would you say that um, having moment of self-reflection is something that is very good? However, it's also important to surround yourself with people that can challenge you and support you to unlearn, right? Being masculine. Would you say that this is something that you will love to see more brothers or more men doing?
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot to learn from the people who are around us, especially if we share with them and we can be a story, can be a passion. I think it's the fact that we are together and we can also reflect from could be from a community, how you feel with these people, if you look like them, And for example, when it comes to dads, um, I was super happy to meet like a black dad Germany because I felt like okay, there are folks out there who have a very similar story to me, and maybe we can talk and engage conversation on that topic and come to some interesting elements or project we can do to be able to be more composed with ourselves and to be this man who can talk, who can exchange, who can be gentle, who know when to take place, you know? And just like when I had this fam in England, London peeps, and to be able to discuss with them wherever they come from, whatever their gender, and to be able to talk with them and all this thing just it's like a cooking pot of so many different elements, ingredients, very interesting and full of flavor, which come and brings it smells good, and so I think to have this community around, this community is this brother Germany, for example, the friends we had in London, the friends that are like personal one. It's a key component on how to I wish my brother to have and to explore and to not be scared because it's kind of there is doubt. It feels you don't know, you know.
On the other side, also, a thing that will be really my just personal opinion. I think it's also all right to be scared, right? To be scared.
Yeah,
The reason why it is like when you're vulnerable and open up to anyone, is you're completely naked, right?
yeah,
And if you have lost trust into people based on experience, not good experience that you had, it's not easy to open up again. It's really important to have that support system. I think it's really really important to have a support system in which you will learn to know yourself by learning to know anyone else. And the experiences that like the last time when Pete was in the podcast, I was saying, wow, when I've listened to his story, I was like, I can go out and think sometimes that my story of having a father that wasn't there and of absentee father is like the worst one that you ever seen. And then in his own story, there were so many things that just happened to him like he was still a child, right? When he lost his mother and then he lost his grandmother. And that is like he was just 7 years old, right? But when you're now in the space where you have people are sharing different story like that, it helps you understand that actually your own situation, right? your state of mind is something that you can still work on, as something that you can, manage, and so on and so forth. If the next person that have been through something that is even worse than what you've been through, and it's not even about worse or something like that, it's really anything that happened to us, how do you create that balance in yourself, right? Which brings me now to our next the next question that I have with you, because we talked a little bit about being a father, right? Fatherhood is what we do with Black Death Germany. And there's a term that I love to use, which is also father wound, the wound that we have, based on stories that we have, right? We own them, we have to. And breaking that kind of cycles is a little bit of the work that we also do with Black Death Germany, which is very, very much important. So this, I have a question for you, because breaking the cycle is never easy, whatever happened to us. So if your father would be in front of you right now, sitting in this room, what would you love to tell him? That's a tough one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's okay.
I'm
I
sorry,
mean,
bro.
why, hey, dad, I love you. You're my dad. You show me some great things, you know. I love what I do because you gave me the basis of what my work is actually, the mechanic sense of, because I'm a bike mechanic, and so, so told me this curiosity and so on. But why you never really open, take me aside, say, hey, let's go and spend the time there and sit, drinking a juice, watching the ocean, and just like, and you could open up. I'm sure you have many stories that, but you never really told me what you really have it in. You just close it and you feel like you throw the key. I would like to find the key back and to open it and say that, you know, because yeah, I think he's a great guy, but his emotions are nice stuff. And if I have to change something today, I think is to know actually that this can be, I can take this over. I can bring it to a new level where I can, rather than just being closed like as that, but will not really talk about his emotion. Well, you will see anger, that's definitely at times, but rather than just having all this thing bursting from me, what could I actually bring to my child, Theo, 11 years old, great little guy, and as I had anger issues, I had to change this, and I had to, and that today is way better. It's like we have fun actually. We're pretty good, but that is something like that I don't want to bring to my child. I want to be open to him and to be able to talk to him and say, hey, you can ask me a lot of questions, anything. We can sit down and talk. That you don't feel good, hey, you can sit with your dad. Let's talk at the table, and share. I wish my dad was a bit more like on that level of communication.
Mm.
You know,
Did you ever try to be on that level of communication with him?
I try shyly.
Okay.
I try shyly. I was living in Brixton, UK, London, and they came to visit me, and I kind of show off a little bit Brixton because I love living there, and uh, and uh, and when we were sitting in front of the Ritzy Cinema, actually, or the one we know, Brixton, uh, I felt like I had to talk, but I don't know how I could. What I wanted to say, how I could just to get it out, you know and it's later over the years that I realized, like, damn, I didn't do it. Why did I not do it? Well, you know, and this is maybe linked to like memories, and like how we feel as a child towards like the father figure, and that's something. I want my son, for example, to remember that there's a father figure. It's not just about being angry. It's not just about like not talking or just talking about homework, talking money and whatever. No, that we can just go on a different level, you know? And I would like to ask that, so how come we never really share on that level? Because this is the fundamentals of what we are, people. And we talk, we communicate. How come you never, you know? But I think that's a bit, it's tricky to take this road. I found it a little bit, I found it difficult,
It
you
is,
know?
it is my own experience, if I may share. It's really, I remember I really confronted my mom at a very late stage, right? I think it was 2010 when I went back to Cameroon. I didn't went back, but I didn't go back. I just went for holidays, and that was the first moment where really just wanted to ask my mom, what really happened. But through the years, from the moment I was born to when I left and going back and forth, sometimes I really never could find the strength and the courage. Not because I'm fear, because I think my own reason was that I was like, she went through a lot already, and she'd raised me as she could, and so on. And I don't want to put her in that situation. But on the other side, I knew that there was something, there was a link that is missing, right? And that link that is missing is to know who I am, is to know who was my father and what happened. So I really need to go through that. I really need to. So my expectation and my hope, not my expectation, but because I don't want to have any expectation on you, but my hope will be that you definitely come to the point where you can really talk to your father exactly the same way you were doing it here, right? Which is, I love you. I, however, I need to understand this and I need to understand that. It create that link that you're also having with your child right now, with your boy right now, which is, how did you even manage to do that, right? Like, and Peter and I, we also had that conversation when I was saying, like, sometimes it feels like, no, that was with you when we were talking the last time and having our conversation, and I was like, sometimes there's a word that says that you can't be what you cannot see, where you cannot be what you cannot see, and but we are doing things that we haven't seen, and that's really interesting to see on the other side, right? Which is an interesting um perspective that a friend of mine gave to me when I was in a podcast. She just brought me on a podcast and then was speaking about that because of one of the project that I was doing. So how did you manage? That would be my question.
How did I manage? I think I just had to go a lot for, I had to go for a lot inside and to digest it.
Yeah.
And just to be like, yeah, yeah. I think it's the next time to talk and just to be try to yeah and just to be aware of my difficulties, of my struggle, you know, and just to say, hey, you know, man, look, don't get angry because is it really worth it? And just like try to skip the bad stuff, the stuff which is not necessary, you know, the
The stuff that is not yours, right?
yeah, which is not even mine, you know.
Yes, yes.
And I understand my dad, he had his life, he, you know, from this small fisherman, you know, tend to be attitude, whatever, you know. It's me from a little boy, you know, just being like a professional cycling mechanic. And but we are two different people. Told me who through his story, I could see who he is, even though I don't know exactly completely who this person is somehow. Open up will be good. Then I will know more ways. But I had to find my own way. I had to find my own way just by being aware that this Theo will grow up. He will look at me, and I want him to have a good memory of his dad. Like, you know, and I think this is very, I mean, it's key to me, and that's something I want to give, you know. And but this is, yeah, I had to just sit down a lot of with my own things, and just try to deal with it, and yeah.
It's really I'm very appreciative for what you're saying, because, and I know that for you it's really not easy to have this conversation right now, and for Theo it's a blessing. It's something that you give into him, and that he will listen, right, and for many years, because as you said, it's what I see in what you're saying is like it's really love, right? It's the work of love that you're putting so into, like forgetting yourself sometimes, going beyond your own wounds, for example, and things that were very difficult for you to
Hmm.
go through. The experience that you had with your father, which is an experience
So
of, of how is it to that you don't talk to me, or how is it that you don't talk to me about who you are exactly? How is it that you don't take me in your arms, that you don't tell me things that I need to hear from you? And
mm,
what you're also saying, that but it's not your story, right? It's not your story, it's the story of your father.
yeah,
But that became also part of your story. To manage that is really to sometimes separate yourself from the story of your father,
yeah,
and not make it your story, so that you can strive and you can be there in a different way for your son. And
yeah,
I've seen the relationship that you have your son with your son, and really it's really something that is very, very much original and very much special. And if he's listening to this podcast, I think he knows that, and he will feel that through the words that you've used. So thank you
yeah.
so much. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's a moment of healing, right?
Yeah.
It's a moment of healing. So I do have another question for you, which is,
Uh-huh.
in the work that you do, because you were talking about what your father also gave to you, right?
Uh-huh.
So let's go back to those nice memories and the bike stuff that you do, right?
Yeah.
Which is something that I always find it like, it's like a very interesting kind of fetish that you have, to use the words that
Yeah.
you're using in terms of,
Yeah.
right? And then I was like, yeah, so tell us about this, how that started, right, from your father and what he passed it on. What happens there? What happened there for you to this moment?
Yeah.
Because every time we talk, you love to talk about this. So tell us a little bit more.
It's my dad, boy, he grew up. I grew up when we were living in Paris. My dad used to go around a lot with his mate Jose. Jose used to live in Saint-Michel-sur-Orge, next to Paris, and we will drive to meet him. And then they will go in this box. It's a garage. And these guys will work on like Volkswagen, like the Käfer, the Coccinelle,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Beetle.
the battle.
They will do
Yeah.
Beetle, they will do van, they will hit a Carman sometimes, a T2, T1, T3, well, you name it. And and we used to go and follow him. And when he used to go to the junkyard with all the broken cars to get like a second part, we'll go with him. We'll play in the junkyard. We'll pick up like ball bearings like bigger than your eyes. And always fixing something. Man fix things. You give him the screwdriver and say, "Can you build me an aeroplane?" It's like he will say, "Well, yeah, I think I can try to do something." And it always worked. I remember working outside, building things, lifting bricks that he can do the cement and then to just, layer the bricks. And he was doing a lot of mechanic. And when I was little, I was very into bicycles. And but I was also a cyclist. Yes, I wore spandex thing and the nappy and all the helmet. And yeah, it was actually quite fun. And but the thing is like I think it's some logos, something just stay in my mind. For example, when I was little, I used to go to Decathlon a lot and I loved it. Because Decathlon back then used to be amazing. And they were like logos of brands that I remember from when I was a child. And like maybe like 6 years ago, something like that, just rethinking like, why am I working with bikes? What is this? And then diving back, I remember exactly the logo, exactly the brand, which is still running today. And it turns out that over the years, well, I've been working as a cook and studying logistics. And then I worked in a bike shop, and then I made bikes my source of revenue. And I just repairing bikes, selling them, managing store, and
And you can fix any bike. Like
and
you just told me things like,
I can
give me
fix
anything, I would just
things.
fix it. I'm like,
Sometimes I'm just thinking like I would love to weld, but I think like the fixing is great, but it's more than fixing. For me, it's a lifestyle, and that really helped me to feel really good with myself and
yeah. I
the
remember you told me it's like a meditation for you. I was like, who
building
talks about
wheels.
fixing a bike like a
Yeah,
meditation?
for some fellows out there, it's gets a lot of stress.
Yeah.
I think it's yeah, I like to drink coffee, eating a croissant, and building a wheel in the morning.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's the
think it
Martinic
puts me in
side.
a
It's
good,
eating a croissant. That's a Martinic side.
yeah, well buttered.
Not the
Yeah.
French side, the Martinic. That's so nice.
Well, it's just like I like it because it's just like put me in a dimension where I can only be.
Yeah, yeah.
And don't find distraction, especially if I start early.
Yeah, I love it.
And
I love
it
what you're
just put
saying.
me on a drive, and
Yeah.
but then there's so many. There's the mechanical side, there's the inspirational side. There are like cyclists, like black cyclists, who inspire me a lot. I think his name is Thomas Boget.
Mhm.
He is actually a French cyclist. I think his roots are from the West Indies, but he was like an Olympic champion cyclist, track riding,
Wow.
pursuit. Uh, Crazy sport, very demanding. Elliot Jackson, we used to ride for Pivot and Giant Cycling, and I think these guys, they kind of to see that there are black people into this sport is cool. And more recently, with one of the first African men to actually get like finish some etaps and win the etap of the Tour de France, which I was like, I'm on the moon because somebody like a black person like me can just say to the world that, yo,
I can
I
do
can go
this.
to the top
I can
too,
do
and I
this.
can come first,
Amazing.
you know,
Amazing. Yeah,
and then
amazing.
nothing's gonna stop me,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna get it. And to see Elliot Jackson as well, how is different, maybe how to say circuit. I think it was good. So I also took people out in the mountains, working. The office is Mother Nature. I'm on top of my mountain, taking all these people down, making them things. I never went down a mountain like this. I'm so scared. It's like I take
Relax.
care
I'll
of
take
you.
care of
Look, at the
it.
end, you're gonna be laughing and you're gonna be
Yeah.
like,
It's amazing. So I
and
love I love those memories because especially as I say it right, especially because some of the conversation that we have, they can be tough sometimes and they can be very emotional.
yeah.
And I just wanted us to also go back to what your father gave to you through the experience that you've been through,
Hmm.
which is also like a great experience, and that's very, very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you really very much for sharing that. There is one last question that I have for you.
Uh
Yeah,
huh.
there's one last question that I have for you, and that's another serious one, unfortunately for you. But let's go through that.
Yeah.
Um, I would like you to do us a favor,
Uh huh.
right? By um, sending a letter to your old person or to the person that you used to be.
Uh huh. Okay.
If you will have to send a letter to the person that you used to be,
Yeah.
what would be in that letter?
It will be a letter with a lot of questions, a lot of why, and but praises too, because from experience, when I left France, I was in London. I was a bit on my own for a bit. But then you develop yourself, you meet people, you find a partner, whatever you think so. And from that moment on, a lot of things happened, and I had to, yeah, we'll ask them. I will write on this letter like why did you get to, yeah, actually, when I think about it, just, yeah, when I think about it, I was asking the older self, like, yeah, how do you, how do you manage to, how did you manage to have so much anger and to, yeah, how did you manage to have anger? Where is this really truly coming from? And what was your, the ways you could have found back then? But unfortunately, I mean, I would like every question to be answered, but this question, I will never really get an answer because my answer is only about me now today.
Still, would you tell your older person that who you are today? Would you share who you are today
Yeah,
with that person, the
yeah,
person you used to be? And what would that be?
and that would be the, yeah. It's like, how come you? It's a difficult question. It's a very difficult question. And it's a
But through the
lot of,
experience that you're having today, which
yeah,
is a great experience, for example, of being a father,
yeah.
there are so many positive things that you have there, right? They are so not even just positive, but they are great memories, a great experience that you'll be having to the person that, because you also say there would be praises. What would be some example of the praises that you will tell your older person?
The changes is good, and you've been part of these changes. You've been part of these changes, Keith.
That changing is
Yeah,
good.
the
Is that what you,
changes are good, and I managed to be part of this.
and you manage to be part of this?
And even though some changes were like more or less expected,
Mm-hmm.
that even with those, I managed to just get up
Mm-hmm.
and hit the sack again.
Mm-hmm.
Try to, yeah, to remain strong and to show strength and being composed to my son,
Amazing.
you know, and
Amazing.
say to the other guy, hey,
I made it.
it will be okay.
We'll
You
be
know,
okay.
you're gonna manage that. You just,
Mm,
you know, you're gonna fall, and you know, but
you're
I
fine.
think the reward at the end is
Mm,
greater than you can ever think,
amazing.
and just to not be scared and not being shy
Mm.
because that's part of me.
Trust that you'll be fine.
So you
Amazing.
will be okay. You
Amazing.
know, accept the way you are. You will be okay, man.
Mm,
And yeah,
mm.
that's
Thank you so
really
much
good.
for sharing. Really, thank you so much for sharing. We still have one last thing to do, which is we are going to be listening to the question of the guest, right?
Oh,
And the
okay.
guest has a question for you.
Uh-huh.
And the question is fits really to the topic that we had today, which is vulnerability as an act of kindness.
Okay.
And then after that, when you finish to answer the question of the guest, you will ask the next guest your question.
Another question.
Okay?
All
So we will
right.
listen to the question.
Yeah, the question for me, I always ask, I want to ask the next person. As men, we find it very difficult to share our emotions, the big capitals, I love you, to brothers or family members that are men in our community. When was the last time you said I love you to a male friend or family member?
Hey, I love you, man.
That's the easiest part.
No, no, no. It's
Thank you. I love you too. I love you too. So when was the last time?
it's the
Right
last time
now,
I
right?
heard.
The last time you said I love
Nah,
you to a brother or another
I
man.
I say that to my bro.
Okay.
I say that to Marvin a lot when I talk to
Amazing.
him,
Amazing.
or even to my DJ sidekick Adelino.
Yeah.
I love you, bro. It's
Nice.
from it's like me. His parents are from Cabo Verde.
Yeah.
He
Another
grew up in
beautiful island.
France, in the
Yeah.
east,
Yeah. Yeah.
northeast, and my parents are from the Caribbean, and I was born in Paris. So yeah, that's different generations somehow, but we can really relate to each other. And
Nice.
yeah, and I said to Adelino many times, I truly love him because he's a great friend and he's a great sidekick when it comes to our music
Music
adventures.
adventures.
And yeah,
Amazing, amazing. So
so
it's your
yeah,
turn. It's your turn to ask the next guest a question. What would be the question that you will have for the next guest in the podcast?
it's a bit more serious.
It can be silly,
But
it can be serious, funny.
because I'm really curious, and that's something, for example, I always wanted to ask to like Black Germans, um, but it's still very hard to talk about that topic, or maybe it's a mind of it's a society, it's a psyche stuff, you know. It's like if I'm talking to like a Black German brother over here, it's like how do you manage to grow up in a society which was completely bipolar from east to west. And after the wall came down, how did you manage to navigate all this?
Amazing.
Because as a person, you come from
Mm,
a space who has a history of trauma, and how do you relate to the now place where you are and how you grow up,
mm,
which has a serious layer of trauma too.
mm,
And I guess, and with everything which is involved with it. So,
mm,
how do you handle that?
mm.
And to be a dad too. That would be my question.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, bro. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming today. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you for sharing really your story, part of your story, because there's still a lot to
Yeah.
know about you. And I was really, really happy to be part of this journey with you today and to listen to your story. And thanks for sharing. Really,
Thank you. Hello.
thanks a lot.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, bro. As we close today's diary, I want to take a moment to say how truly grateful I am that you chose to spend your time listening to our story. It means so much to me, and it means so much to everyone out there. Because this is a space where we see each other, where we hear each other, we listen to each other, and remind ourselves that we are never truly alone. Please spread the word, invite your friends and family and community to join us. You can find us on all the podcast platforms and YouTube. Don't forget to hit that follow button so you can always stay connected to what we are doing. Thank you for being here. Bye.